Today we are making vegetarian stew. I know you are already excited to know what it's all about, so let's get right into the video. Don't forget to subscribe. So we are going to start by prepping all our vegetables. First of all, we are going to blend our pepper mix. So our pepper mix consists of tomatoes, pepper, onions, ginger, and garlic. This has been my go-to pepper mix for most of my stew bases. And trust me, if you're a beginner at making stews, this is all you need. You may see other recipes where there are a lot of complex spices and herbs that you do not understand. If you are starting out, stick to the basics. Trust me, it's always going to give you the best. Okay, once you are able to graduate to the next level, you can start adding all those herbs and all those spices. So we're going to blend this in the blender till it's very, very smooth. Then we are going to set aside. Now we are going to also chop some vegetables because I want to see lots of vegetables in my stew. If you don't want to, you can blend them, right? But I just blended a little of the tomatoes so that I could chop some of them. So this is the tomatoes being chopped. Then the next is the cucumber. I know that so many people don't understand or have never tried cooking their cucumbers before. They always want to eat it raw. If that's you, stick to that. I love cooking my vegetables, especially in tomato sauce. So if that's not you, it's fine. So you also show me chopping my green beans and then the bell peppers and finally the carrots when it comes to the vegetables, and then of course onions. Just stick to what works for you. If you don't want onions in your stew, you can take it out. Just it's your food, so use what works for you. So this is the part that makes it more vegetarian. So we're not using any form of protein that you're used to. We are using soya chunks, right? So before you use it, you're either going to cook it for a few minutes or soak it in hot water as I'm doing. I'm going to cover this for a few minutes. It's going to semi boil it, then you can use it to do whatever you want to do. So once that's done, you're going to squeeze it out of the water and then proceed to use it for whatever you're using it for. I'm going to fry it for like 5 to 10 minutes so that it can brown on the side. I wanted to get that crunchiness from it before adding it to my stew, but it's completely optional. Some people just cook it with I think I've tried another recipe where I cooked it in water with some ginger, garlic, and then onions and then green pepper, and it was so good. It came out so nice. So there are so many different ways you can do it. If you don't have no idea at all how to go about it, there's also a very simple way. So I added some pepper to make it a bit spicy, and then I think I added a little bit of all-purpose seasoning to enhance the flavor just a little bit, but it has so much flavor already, so you don't need to do all of that. Once it's browned enough for me, I'm going to take it out of the pan. I'm then going to put in my oil. We are about to start the stew. So I'm going to start with some curry powder and then some onions. This is usually the base for most of my stews, like this combo. And then when you have basil or rosemary, it's like the best combo for most stews, like when you're starting out. So you can try that as well. I think I didn't add rosemary to this one, but it really adds a lot of flavor to the stew. So I'm going to fry this for like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to add in my pepper mix. So you already know the components of the pepper mix. We've already blended it: pepper, onion, ginger, a little bit of tomatoes, and then garlic. As I said, when you're starting out, stick to the basics. So I'm also going to fry this for a few minutes, and then I'm going to cover it for it to simmer down a bit. When I was blending, I didn't add a lot of water, so you can see that it's still very thick. If you're cooking your pepper mix and you don't want to take too long, then when you are blending it, always make sure that there's just a little bit of water in it, or no water at all, especially when there's tomatoes. So now it has simmered down. I'm adding my carrots first because you all know that's the hardest vegetable in the mix I'm using, right? So I'm going to put that in first so that I can start cooking before the others come in. So I'm going to add my tomato paste as well at this point, and then I'm going to give all that a good stir and cover it. If the carrots were not so hard, I would have waited and then just added the tomato paste and covered it for it to also cook a bit. But as I said, this carrot was exceptionally hard than any carrot I've used, so I just wanted to cook it a bit. So once I open the pot, I'm gonna start putting my vegetables in, starting with my tomatoes because that's the softest, and then I'm going to just add in the rest. I think in no particular order. At this point, I wanted to have all the vegetables in it. So if I had like spring onions, most times when I am cooking stew and I have spring onions, I would wait till like the stew is almost done and I would just add that to it for some crunch. Because when you add that to the stew, it's already gone. It will vanish. So here I've added all the vegetables. Yes, I added the cucumber because I wanted it to cook at that consistency. But most times I'll wait till like the stew is almost done as well, especially when I'm looking for some kind of crunch in my stew. So it depends on what you're looking for. If that's what you're looking for, you can keep that aside, and when the stew is almost done, you add it. If it's not something that works for you, please don't force yourself to add cucumber to your stew. Here I'm adding my seasoning. I added some all-purpose seasoning, stew seasoning, and a little bit of seasoning cube. Give that a good mix, and the stew is already looking good. We are not done yet, but it was smelling so good at this point. I was ready to eat. So at this point, we are almost done. All you have to do is add your soya chunks, whatever protein that you're using. You can use this method for any kind of stew at all, right? So I'm using soya chunks, so that's what I'm going to put in, and it's going to mix right there with the vegetables. If so, I remember when my mom tasted the stew. When she came, I told her to have a taste of the stew, and she tasted the meat and she was like, is it beef? Because it tasted so good. It tastes just like beef, right? So if you're someone that's vegetarian, looking for vegetarian options, or you want to cut down your consumption of animal protein, I think I'm not even doing an advert for anybody, but soya chunks is a great option and it tastes really really good. So you can think about that. So at this point, the stew is almost done. I'm going to adjust my salt, and I'm going to cover that for it to sit for some minutes. And then of course at this point my rice was almost done on the fire because there was no way I wasn't going to taste this stew at all. So I boiled some white rice, as Bobrisky would say, white rice. Yes, so I boiled some white rice, and um at this point the stew was almost done. So after it sat for about 10 minutes, at this point it had sat on the fire for like 10 minutes, so I knew that it was ready to go. So it had released all the water and everything in it, and the stew was like everything was on point, as you can see on the page, and you can see that it's looking very very good. So the stew is almost done, and if you are going to try this, just know that it's very very simple. Just follow all the processes that I have listed from beginning to end. You can do this even if you've never cooked before. It's very 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 simple. So at this point, I had dished out my rice. All I had to do was to serve it on the side and then just go and get some chilled orange juice and enjoy myself. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you want to be able to see more recipes like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications and share this page to anybody that would find it helpful. As you can see, I'm going to enjoy my rice and stew, so you can also try this recipe and enjoy yours as well. Bye.